name is Woody. Thank you for listening to Change in the House of Pods, a podcast about Deftones. I am so stoked to share my conversation with Cyrus King. As you may or may not be aware, one of my favorite things to do over the course of the pandemic is pour up some Henny and ginger ale, burn something, and watch my favorite band on YouTube. So one night, this could have been late August or early September, I'm not entirely sure. I'm watching Deftones live. They're in London in 2003. It's their first show at Wembley, and it's dope. So while I'm watching, I cruise to the comments to leave a message, this is dope or whatever. And Deftones Live, they pin the set list to the top of the comments. And at the end of the show, in parentheses after change, it says, Chino throws his guitar into the crowd. And I'm like, whoa. And then right below that, I see a post from a user named Scary Monkey. It says, the guy who got the Gibson SG used to work at Sound Control in Virgin Megastore. He sold me an amp from there. I recognized him from his MySpace post about the guitar years ago. He told me the story of what happened. Pretty crazy. And then he says he was selling it on Reverb, and he links to the guitar on Reverb. It says, signed Chino Moreno, Gibson SG, Special Faded 2003. The first thing I did was click ahead to the end of the show to watch what happened. And it's there. Chino tosses the guitar almost gingerly, like you toss a ball to a baby. And then I click the Reverb link. And I see the guitar. It's this beautiful, like cherry wood, signed by the entire band. And there below it, below the pictures of the guitar, is Cyrus's story. And he explains he's selling the guitar because he's got a band and they're working on their second album. So he's thinking of funding it with the guitar money. And the listing is closed, so I'm sort of thinking he sold the guitar, got a bag, funded his record, right? Well, then I noticed there's a button to message the seller. So right away I reached out to him. The listing on Reverb was like 3 years old, so I was sort of throwing a message in a bottle for all I knew. But what the hell, right? Well, not long after, he hit me back, and I am extremely grateful he did. This is my conversation with Cyrus King of This Be the Verse.
Well, my name's Cyrus. I'm 34. I live in London, and I guess when I think I was 15. I had an experience which was probably still to this day, it comes to my mind as the greatest day of my life. It's, when I try and think of other like moments where like the greatest days of my life, that's usually like the first thing that comes to mind because it was such a kind of like a dream scenario. But I went to see Deftones at Wembley. In Wembley Arena in London, 2003. I'm almost certain A Perfect Circle was supporting. So even that in itself was incredible, seeing A Perfect Circle with Deftones. And so me and my friends, we'd gone to the gig, and from what I can remember, the show was great, and it was kind of like carnage and mosh pits everywhere. And, I was 15 at the time, so it was amazing. And then towards the end of the show, Chino played, Deftones played Change. That was the last song. And then I kind of noticed that he kind of like leant into the crowd and then threw the guitar, he kind of threw it into the crowd. And of course, instantly the swarm of bodies reaching for this guitar, it was insane. And me and my friend were actually like kind of not close at all. We were quite far back, maybe the middle of the arena. So we were watching it all unfold in front of us, and it was carnage. And I think gradually we just kind of got closer out of curiosity, and we just got closer and closer. And then before I knew it, I was kind of like in the mix of it, and I was like reaching over, and next thing I kind of knew is I was touching it. I was touching the guitar, and I kind of said to my friend, I was like, I'm touching the guitar. And then it all just happened very quickly. And then before I knew it, I had two hands on the guitar, and it got intense. It got intense because there's just loads of people that want this. And I was in. At that point, I was in, and I gave it my all, and I just went into beast mode, and I remember everyone, there was, quite a few people wouldn't let go of it, obviously. And then everyone's like, okay, look, let's break it. Let's smash it. and they're like, okay, 1, 2, 3, and I was like, no, don't smash it, don't smash it. And I like kind of held it and stopped anyone from smashing it. I remember that clearly. And I think I just kind of, I think probably I just went berserk with, I just went into beast mode, and it ended up like just me and this one guy holding the guitar. And by that time, security had come and found us, and we weren't. Neither of us were going to let go, and they took us. They took us to the side. It took us out of the arena to the side of the arena, and they went, right, okay, only one of you can have this, so we're going to flip a coin. And they flipped.
Did they walk you guys out? Were you both like holding the guitar?
We were both holding, and we were not. Yeah,
all the way out.
Yeah, and we were not letting go. And security.
Real quickly, if I may, what was the other? Was the other person like a teenager? Was the other person like a yeah? So it was a couple of teenagers.
Yeah. I mean, I've
actually
got a photo. I've actually got a photo of me and the guy, and I remember his name. His name was Beard. And so security have taken us, and they made us flip a coin. And I remember the coin flip happening, and for some reason I wasn't really paying attention, and I assumed I had lost. And so I remember when the coin happened, I kind of looked up and I was kind of like, oh, and then I quickly realized that I had won. And it was very, very surreal. And the guy asked for the guy who had been like the last one on the guitar along with myself. He asked to have a photo with the guitar with me. I still wouldn't let go. That's why I probably had to be in the photo. Right. Something along those lines. I'm not sure, but then. Yeah, and then it was insane, and it was kind of that. It was like that euphoria of, oh my god, I've got, they were my favorite band, and to an extent they still are, and I had the front man's guitar, and I was kind of like, I think, I don't know if I was running through the arena, but I was probably walking, and it was probably a blend of like shock and also kind of maybe wanting to say to everyone, oh my god, I got it, but people could notice anyway. And by the time I kind of got out of the arena with my friend, bear in mind, all whilst this is going on, my friend has been with me, and everyone was kind of like, wow, you got the guitar, it's like, incredible. And I got out, and it got to this stage where there were so many people around me that I had like a group photo of something like 30 people.
Wow.
And one of those people, I found out later on in life, I bumped into this guy loads at gigs around London, and then he actually became a successful music manager. He manages an artist in the UK called Frank Carter, who plays in a band called Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes. And he actually told me that story. He said, I remember meeting you at that, after the show, and I was in that photo with you with the guitar. And so that and then afterwards, it was a blend of like not wanting to get robbed, people not wanting to, like, it was, we're just kind of essentially kids, so it was kind of that blend of like not wanting to attract too much attention, but you've got a guitar in your hand and no case or anything, just walking along the streets. So we went to the closest tube station. We sat in this cafe, and then I think we just ordered a taxi. And then we went back to my friend's house, and I've still got photos of us in like his kitchen, and it was total like just shock and disbelief. And it's a 10,000 capacity arena, and they chose me. I was the lucky one. So I think, I was in a band, and I think for sure I did play the guitar. I started playing it in my band, and then I think, I'm not sure how long I played it for, but a year later, the Deftones were playing in London, and they were playing a show in tribute to The Cure. It was an MTV special, and I had found out about this somehow, probably through forums, and found out when they were filming, and I went down with the guitar about a year later, I think. And there were a couple of other fans hanging around outside the gates, and I saw the band in the car park, and I just walked straight past security into the car park, and I walked up to them with the guitar. I think I'd taken it out of the case by this point, and I had a Sharpie or like a permanent marker, and I walked up to them and I said, "Hey guys, I saw you play last year at Wembley, and you threw out your guitar, and I got it, and just wondering if you could sign it, please." And Chino was like, "Oh yeah, it is my guitar," because he'd like glued down the pickup switch so it stays on the bridge pickup. And had a little bit of a chat. Like, I had a little bit of a chat with them, and they all seemed really nice. And I got it, I got the guitar signed, including like it's also signed by Chi Cheng. Actually, I've got it with me now. Do you want to see it?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, please.
I know this is audio only for the listeners, so sorry about that. If I'll bring it out, hang on.
No, they can find it on the internet. It'll be fine.
Okay, yeah. So for the listeners, I've just taken out this guitar. This is Chino Marino's guitar. I was holding it in front of the camera so Wood can see. And yeah, it just since I got it signed, it just lives in it's got like the moon fretboards, and it just lives in its case under my bed. I don't play it, I don't touch it. And and obviously when Chi Cheng passed away, I was already aware of how special an item it was, because this is Chino's guitar. I mean, hey, for all I know, it could have been his guitar for only 5 minutes, but he played Change in the House of Flies on it, and then he threw it into the crowd, and then I got it signed by the whole band. So I'm just gonna pop it back in its case.
Yeah, please go ahead.
And so it kind of it just lives. It lives in my room, and I thought I'd taken that post down, because I had posted it up for sale, and then I was like, I felt a bit weird about selling it, and I thought I deactivated it, and you got in contact with me, and yeah, I guess here we are.
Yeah. You were going to sell it? You had thought about selling it?
Yeah, I thought about selling it because, in my mind, it's worth a lot of money, and I'm not playing it. And so maybe I could put that money towards my own art. I'm in a band, and I kind of thought, we just finished our second album actually, and I originally posted up for sale before we started that, because my plan was to use the money from the sale of the guitar to pay for recording a new album. And I thought that would be a really good use of the guitar. That got given to me, and in turn the money got used to create new art. That was my thinking. But basically I'm not willing to let go of it for a price that I don't, I know what it's worth in my mind. And if people aren't willing to pay that, hey, I'll keep hold of it. It's one of my favorite bands, and I got no problem holding on to it if people aren't willing to pay what I feel it's worth. But then, I think I took the post down, or maybe I deactivated it somehow, because I felt a bit weird about something inside of me, felt a bit strange about selling it, maybe making money off something that was given to me like that. I'm not sure. And so, it's definitely my most prized possession, I would say, in terms of something that's material. It's my most prized possession. And that whole gig was just kind of crazy, because actually before the gig, I went there early, and I was waiting around the back, and I met Chi Cheng, and I got a photo with him. And in the same photo is a guy, and in the back of the photo. And about a couple of years later, maybe 2 years later, he auditioned to be in my band, and he joined my band. And so all these weird things happened. Yeah, I guess that's the story of that's the story of the guitar. I'm very lucky, and yeah, I'm sure I probably will meet Chino again at some point, and probably remind him or remind the band. And you know, I'm holding out for my band to support Deftones, so that'd be the best opportunity.
Would you play it under that circumstance?
Would I play that guitar?
Yeah.
I don't know, man, because it's signed. You know, I don't know if that's a good
Get
look.
A little sweaty, you might smear
yeah.
it. Nah, don't do it.
Yeah. I don't think I'd play it, but I would definitely really enjoy the. I'd really enjoy just telling the guys a story, and it all kind of like, I don't know, coming full circle in a way.
I mean, most people are lucky if they catch a guitar pick. Catch a whole guitar is.
I've got a guitar pick as well before. I've got one of Steph's picks. So yeah, I'm lucky, and I'm very lucky. And around that time as well, you know, I had like a whole shrine in my room dedicated to Deftones. It was when the album Deftones came out, and I remember I had like a whole kind of shrine. I was really, really.
I'm not going to show you around my office right now.
I bought every, if they released the single on CD, I would buy every version. You know, it was.
Remember those days of every little piece of mystery that came out that you had to go get it because you didn't know what was on it otherwise, or even if it was just a single and you'd heard the song, it was like, well, maybe there's an alt version of the song on the
yeah. Well, you know, there still can be that, and I'm sure lots of artists are doing that and hiding little things. And yeah, I don't know. Like I've seen all the new Deftones merch, and yeah, I'm definitely tempted. I like the white T-shirt with the eyes.
Yeah, I bought it already myself.
Yeah, it's cool. That's a cool summer T-shirt, you know, because in summer you need a white T-shirt. Even though I love metal, I'm not wearing black in the sun.
Well, and I have 4,000 black T-shirts. I got to mix it up at least a little bit, right?
Yeah, my whole wardrobe's black, but I'll tell you what, when the sun comes out, I'm wearing white. So I've got a white Glassjaw T-shirt. What else? I got like a Pink Floyd T-shirt. I need a white Deftones T-shirt.
So were you were really, really into them at that time in 2003. I would imagine that sort of propelled you further, like after the show at Wembley. You continued to be big time Deftones fan. Yeah,
I mean, I remember the moment where it clicks for me, and I kind of went from, you know, you're kind of taking a band in, and you're kind of enjoying it, and it's new, and you're discovering it, and then that moment where it really kind of, I don't know, it really kind of just connects with you, and it hits a nerve, and it stays with you. It kind of like goes into your blood or your DNA, and that was the breakdown. I wouldn't call it the middle section in Korea on White Pony, and for me, that I remember listening to that. And I was with my friends, and we just used to hang out in our like kind of band practice room, and yeah, I remember hearing that, and I was probably stoned, and it had a real impact on me. And then maybe the gig was after that, I'm not sure, but yeah, I was like, there's a couple of bands that are in my blood, and I'm kind of like I'm really into. But I find people who are into rock music, alternative rock, metal, they are like that, you know. I mean, you meet them, it's like a family. You know, you see someone in the street wearing a Nine Inch Nails T-shirt, and you're like, yes, and there's that connection, or like, you know, a Tool T-shirt, and it's because that music, you don't get it at first. It takes time. And it takes, and it's very rewarding. And so when you see someone who's wearing a T-shirt like a Tool t-shirt or Deftones t-shirt, it's like, yes, it's like there's this mutual respect because you both get it, you both get the art. And that's the thing that kind of really annoys me about posers who maybe people who are into fashion, who aren't into the music and like these cool old school t-shirts because they look fashionable. It totally devalues that, and I'm really anti that. So I became a huge Deftones fan, and I followed them ever since. And whenever a new album comes out, I feel like my mood lifts. I know like this is gonna go out after OMS is out, but yeah, I guess for us when we're doing this now, it's out tomorrow. But yeah, so I'm excited. I'm excited to listen to it tomorrow, and what I've heard of already. I was let down by Gore. I know like not everyone feels that way, but from what I've heard already, I've got faith that it's going to be, for my taste, it's going to be better. And yeah, I'm excited. I'd be surprised if it hits the levels of Koi no Yokan and Diamond Eyes, because that's like it's stellar. But I think it's going to be pretty close. And
we're getting into the neighborhood of ranking albums,
Yeah. Hey, I'm happy to do that. Yeah.
All right, let's roll it out. You don't have to rank all of them, but if you've got a favorite 3 or 4 or however deep you think you can get,
maybe it is a favorite 4. I don't know. The amazing thing is, and this is it, we're so lucky as fans, is there's like a whole load of great albums. It's not just like one good album or 2. It's I think for me personally, the masterpiece is White Pony. It's just so unique. And then it's really hard. Around the Fur maybe, but Koi no Yokan and Diamond Eyes, I just think they're incredible. I think they're so good. And to be honest, I wasn't really expecting, because I think after Saturday Night Wrist, I kind of was like, maybe I'd seen them a few times live and they hadn't been on form. And I completely get it. Like some gigs are good, some gigs are not. And I remember before Diamond Eyes, I think I went to see them, and I was like, yeah, okay, like, let's see what happens. Like, I'll go see them. And I saw them at the Forum, and I was blown away. So yeah, it's really hard. I think Deftones are going to be, I think their masterpiece is White Pony, because it's so rich and textured, and yeah, the production's amazing, and it's just, yeah, it's great songs, and it's just beautiful, really. So that's my number 1, and then after that it gets really hard. I would put it's been a while actually since I've visited Saturday Night Wrist, so I could have another listen to that, but at the bottom of the pile for me would be Saturday Night Wrist and Gore. But I do like Rubicon off Gore. I think that's a great tune. And then I think like Deftones' self-titled album, I think that's great. It's really hard. Like
hard, right?
And I know everyone has got different opinions, different. So that's a great thing about it. I know some people who like Gore, and actually, yeah, there you go. And yourself and the drummer in my band, he likes Saturday Night Wrist. So there you go. We're all different. We all got different tastes, and that's a great thing about the band. But I hope on this new album, I hope Steph brings the filth. I hope he brings the business, because but hey, I haven't even mentioned Adrenaline. That's great when you listen to that now. It's like, whoa. Again, I guess because throughout the years he's gone through different tunings, and that's got a very unique sound. And actually last time I saw them in 2016 at Wembley, I think the last 3 or 4 songs they played were from Adrenaline, and whoa, you didn't want it to end. It was great. So yeah, And I love their covers as well. The covers they do, always really smart covers. And
Do you have a favorite?
um, maybe the Sade one. Is it Ordinary Love?
Yeah.
Oh, and there's another one. If Only We Could Sleep Tonight by The Cure. Yeah, and actually that was that recording. You can see it on YouTube. That was the day when I got the guitar signed when they played.
You went to the show too, yeah?
I went to the studio, to MTV studio, and I could get in. I was kind of like hanging around, like kind of like trying to like see if I could sneak in or something. And I remember like
So
being
you didn't
outside.
even have a ticket. You didn't even have a ticket to get in to watch the performance.
No, I was just hanging out
Oh,
outside,
that's dynamite.
hoping to meet the band.
Yeah.
And I remember like being in the car park and kind of like having my ear to the door, and yeah, I could hear Marilyn Manson like walking down the stairs, chatting probably to like Dieter Von Teese. And then later on, like the band would. I was hanging around for a while, and I remember like kind of like saw Frank like having a smoke outside, and like I kind of said to him, I was like, through the fence, whatever. I was like, "Oh, hey man, do you reckon you could like get me into the show?" And he would just like shut me down. He was like, "No." he was like, "No." He didn't have any time for like this band trying to help this band get into the show.
I would imagine you get pretty comfortable saying no to fans in circumstances like that over time. It's
Yeah,
common.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. I'm sure he's just like, I'm not getting involved in this.
Yeah, no, I can't be responsible for this guy.
Yeah. So
So
yeah.
do all the This Be the Verse is your band?
Yes.
Do all of the members of your band? You mentioned your drummer is into Saturday Night Wrist. Is the whole band like Deftones?
Yeah. The whole band likes Deftones. It took me a while to find put a band together where we are all kind of on the same wavelength, but we have different tastes, but it's kind of the bands that matter we really, we all really like. And I'd say Deftones is, it's a band that we all really love, and that's, it's great to have that in common. It's hard when you're putting a band together because you need to find people who are on a wavelength and get where you're coming from artistically, and it really clicks. So we're all huge Deftones fans, and we're super excited about the album coming out tomorrow. And yeah, like I honestly, within me, I have faith that one day we're going to share a stage with them.
I think that is if you don't put it out into the air, if you don't speak it into existence, it's not going to happen. So I think that you're doing the right thing by putting it out there.
No, it is.
Do you do you find the influence in your music? Do you guys take some influence from Deftones? And if so, I'm wondering like what part, because there's so many different elements to what they do.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I would say definitely on the drums. I mean, for me, Abe Cunningham is the most underrated drummer. Like, he has got so much groove. It's ridiculous. Like, he's so good and just so classy. He doesn't, I love bands like Mastodon and Tool, but with those bands, the drummer is very much the star of the show. And with Abe, it's just about the music, and it's just about like locking into the pocket and the groove, and it's so good. It's so good. It's almost like he's a hip hop drummer.
I always say it's that bop. It's not Deftones unless it's got that bop, and that bop belongs to Abe Cunningham. Like he just knows how to
totally
make you snap a little bit, and it's
yeah. He's got the groove for sure. So definitely, I'd say the drums for sure, and riffs. My vocal style. I don't know if I would kind of. I don't think I sing like Chino, but I love his voice. And actually, on the two new singles that have come out, I'd say that one of the strongest parts of it is the vocals. They sound really great. So yeah, I guess I'd probably say the rhythm, the bass and drums are definitely influenced by Deftones, and I purposely kind of like seek out Deftones fans and share This Be the Verse with them, because I feel like they'll appreciate it, you know. So yeah, huge influence on us for sure.
And you're preparing to release your second album. Is that's what you said? And that's do you have some a release date or any idea in mind when that should be coming?
Yeah, it's going to be out on 6th of November, which I'm pretty sure is the first Friday of November, and it's going to be out on Bandcamp exclusively. And it's called Denial. And yeah, I've been working on it for quite a while now, but I'm very proud of it. You know, you listen back to it, and it's up there. You know, I'm happy to play it to people in the industry. And, you know, when I play it to them, I'm excited about them listening to it. And, you know, we released our first single off it, Fading. That came out 2 weeks ago, and it's had over 7,000 plays on Spotify. So, you know, that's a nice little start for us. And it's going well. And the next single is going to be announced very soon. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm aware that when people hearing this, these singles would have been out, but yeah, the album's going to be out on 6th of November. Denial on our Bandcamp, and then we'll look into vinyl later. But yeah, I'm really proud of it.
Are you a vinyl person? Are you the type of person who's like, okay, I've got this music, or I could listen to it on digital, but now I have to have this on vinyl?
I am a vinyl person. I don't have a huge vinyl collection, but I've got quite a nice one, nice collection of vinyl. I'm definitely someone who, you know, you hold something tangible. It's great for sure. And I definitely want to release our album on, you know, 180 gram heavyweight vinyl. But I'm also aware that it's, you know, you can enjoy music. You don't have to have vinyl. But I'm a DJ, so I play, like, you know, club music, house, techno, disco. And, you know, I'm totally aware of how great vinyl sounds, you know, through a great sound system, great preamps, speakers. It's amazing. It's the best way I can describe it is it has depth, like an analog photo has depth. You know, a digital photo, you look at an analog photo that's taken on like 35 millimeter, and it's just got that depth to it. And vinyl is the same with audio. You know, digital is very flat and loud, and vinyl's warm. It's like warm and it really kind of it's got depth.
Do you find yourself playing any Deftones at gigs when you're playing in clubs when you're DJing?
Rarely. I'm just it depends where I'm playing. You know, if I was playing somewhere in like a bar and it kind of I warms it up to that level, then sure. But I guess as a DJ, I'm very aware of the room always, and it's about making sure that everyone's comfortable. And I'm aware that, you know, the music I like, the heaviest side of music I like, it's not for the faint of heart. You know, it's not for the faint-hearted, and that's the beautiful thing about it.
Sort of like an exclusive club, right?
Exactly. It's like I was saying earlier, it is like an exclusive club because, you know, a lot of people listen to heavy music who aren't into it, and maybe I was guilty of this as well when I was like 9 or 10, and you hear screaming and you're like, oh, what's that? You know, you don't get, oh, turn it off. You don't get it. But no, like there's anger is an emotion, you know, and it's sometimes it's not about understanding the lyrics. It's about the energy in the performance. So yeah, it is an exclusive club because it's not easy to get into. A lot of the, you know, the heavier stuff like Meshuggah, Converge, you know, you gotta invest in it, but you invest in it and it's rewarding. I mean, you know, sometimes when I listen to bands like Tool, I feel like, you know, euphoria. It's like high from music.
Yeah.
And the same, you know, same with Deftones, like that moment I was talking. And when I listen to White Pony and so many of their albums, but you know, that moment I was talking about in Korea, it's like an out of body experience all of a sudden.
Korea's brutal. It's so like I've called it like the epitome of a Deftones song. It's
Mm.
got like all of those elements there, but it's heavy. It's really heavy.
Oh
And
yeah.
were you listening to heavy music before you got into Deftones?
Um, also, it's heavy music. It all kind of happened. I think I got into Deftones was definitely one of the earliest bands. So 14, there's no denying that like I was like a sucker for Limp Bizkit, and still, still to this day, hey man, like Terry Date on production. There's a reason why Limp Bizkit sounds amazing, and why it kicks, and why it's great at a party is because that that guy's produced it so well. And I remember I was probably seeing his name around a lot, Terry Date. Also Rick Rubin's name on a load of productions. But yeah, when I was like 14, 15, that's kind of when it started. I'm not sure what got me into heavy music exactly. I think actually maybe slightly before that, hearing like Lenny Kravitz, "Are You Going to Go My Way?" or something, and that probably got me into guitar music and wanting to pick up a guitar. And then I was like that age, and I think when I was like 14, 15, I was like skateboarding, and it was it was in the culture, bands like Head PE and System of a Down. And then I went to my first festival alone, which was Ozfest, and must have been 14 or 15, and that was like Black Sabbath headlining, with Tool, and I think Slipknot, Soulfly, Papa Roach. So it was kind of like, I was in. It was like properly got into my blood. And a lot of people, I know of people who would be like, "Oh, I grew out of that." I'm like, I did not grow. That's in me. If you grew out of it, good, because like, stay out of it. Like, the scene doesn't need people like you who like grow out of it. Like, no people
doubt.
like turn their noses up at stuff like that. I'm like, hey, it's in my blood. Like, I am like through and through like a massive, a rock fan, or an alternative metal fan, and heavy music for sure. I mean, I love music. You're from Minneapolis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Prince, man.
Do you?
Yeah, I saw Prince maybe a couple of years ago in London.
Really?
Yeah, and honestly, I came out of that show and I was like, Prince is God. Like, I was like, whoa, I'd never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
I walked away from that. I was like, he's untouchable. Like I for me, like Trent Reznor is like, one of the artists I look up to most. And people like David Bowie. But let me tell you, Prince is on another level. Like,
He's a bad man. He was a bad man. I only got the good fortune of seeing Prince once, and coincidentally was at a Lenny Kravitz show. He was finishing Lenny Kravitz and Smash Mouth, so that was an interesting night. But Lenny Kravitz was great. He was touring in support of Five, and
oh yeah, I love that album.
Yeah, big fan. And Prince came out and performed "Fly Away" with Lenny Kravitz. He just played the guitar, but man, he tore it to pieces. It was just
oh yeah,
bad man, man.
Incredible. Yeah, totally. So yeah, and I love music, and if it's good, it's I'm in.
So talking about live performances, I would love to hear your perspective on Deftones live.
Okay.
They have gone through an evolution of there being years when people point to and like, I didn't see a great show, but I do feel like when you catch a good Deftones show, there's not much like it, right?
Yeah.
What do you think it is that makes a great Deftones show?
Well, I'll be honest. Chino's voice has got to be on form, and I know how hard that is. As I wouldn't call it singing, but I attempt to sing and I do vocals, and I'm aware of how hard it is. And some days are good, some days are bad. Your diet, it makes a huge impact on it as well, and so many factors. Sleep. So yeah, I think when he's got a great day. It's the same with any band, the vocalist has got, it's not always going to be a guarantee they're on form. So definitely you want Chino on form. Ideally, the smaller the venue, the better. I saw them I got very lucky. I saw them at the Scala in London, which is maybe a 1,000 capacity venue.
Really?
Actually, it's less. It's about 800. Yeah. And I saw them there. And actually in 2013, I saw Nine Inch Nails there as well.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Seeing Nine Inch Nails or Deftones in a room with only a few hundred people is a unique experience. How did you pull that off?
How did I get the Deftones gig? I probably got the Deftones into that show just because I was really on it in terms of buying tickets as soon as they were on sale. I've seen Deftones a lot of times. I can't even remember how many times I've seen them.
Was that Wembley show your first?
The Wembley show, when I got the guitar, I'm pretty sure that was the first time I saw them. Yeah, I'm pretty sure because I know I saw them. I can't remember if they played like 2 years back to back at Wembley. But yeah, actually, I think I remember now. The first time I saw them when I was like, maybe 16 or so. I think that's when I got the guitar, and then maybe they played there again a year or two later. I can't remember, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the first time I saw them.
And then to see them years later in a tiny room.
Yeah, that was great. And actually, that show, they played the whole of Around the Fur.
Really?
Yeah, from start to finish.
Did they? Why?
What was that about? Why not? Yes, please. I'll take that.
Wow, that's cool as hell. I don't know that I've heard of them doing that, or I haven't heard of that much. I mean, I'm not doing a whole lot of research in terms of which albums have they played all the way through before, but that's remarkable.
I'm pretty certain that I'm 90% certain that they played the whole of the album through.
And that was London, roughly.
London Scala. And when was it? I would say, wow, I don't know. Maybe 11, 12 years ago, maybe longer. But I remember I went with my brother and it was great. I can't remember when I last saw them at, pretty sure it was Wembley Arena, unless I also caught them at a festival. I would say, yeah, good Deftones show is don't see them at a festival. I mean, I'll happily see them, but there's so many odds against it being a good show. The fans, them maybe not being able to sound check because they're in between, the headliner and the band before them. So, and obviously they're playing a shorter set. I think if you can see them in a venue that's like under 5,000 capacity, where they're headlining indoors, the smaller the better. That's it. I'm gonna get a good spot in the middle. Oh my god, I haven't even mentioned this. I do remember when I last saw them, and it was probably the best Deftones show I've ever seen. Okay, so I can't believe I forgot this. 2 years ago, Robert Smith from The Cure curated a festival in London called Meltdown Festival. I'm pretty sure it was 2 years ago. And on the lineup was ridiculous. Nine Inch Nails, Deftones, I think Placebo, Manic Street Preachers. It was really great. Me and my drummer, we got tickets to the Deftones show. I am not joking, I got the best seats ever known in the history of the world. I'm talking like better than being side of stage. Okay.
How? Where were they?
Because so our seats were, it was in a venue called the Royal Festival Hall in London, South Bank. And it's a beautiful room and it's seated. And so it's kind of tiered, so each seat's like, it goes up a level like a theater. Mm-hmm. And we were the second row from the front, okay, bang in the middle. And if we stood up, we were level with the stage.
Oh, that's cool.
So it wasn't like we were looking up at the stage. We were level with it. and Chino was right in front of us. And actually, like actually on our band's Instagram, our Instagram is TBTV band. There is a photo I've taken of Chino. I took this picture. You will not be able to believe how good it is. Like, it's that, if anyone's listening, you should check it out. I haven't zoomed in. That's how close. That's how close I was.
I'm working on finding it here.
Okay, let me.
Wow.
Can you see it?
Picture rules.
Right? And I tagged them, and I was pretty sure that they would have wanted to use that image or something, but
yeah, that
never
looks
heard.
like liner notes photo or something. Like, that's
right.
Insane.
I mean, my drummer and I, we could not take the smile off our face, because it was like they were playing in our living room or something.
Yeah.
You know, it was. I'm looking at the photo now.
That photo's mind blowing. That's really, really great. Like, do you take photos? Because that looks like there's quite a bit of art behind or skill behind that photo.
I describe myself as an amateur photographer. You know, I do take pictures. I got a little, I got a 35mm film camera, and I'm really into that at the moment, taking film. And I follow Frank, because Frank's obviously, you know, takes all the photos for the band, and he's obviously a really good photographer as well. And so, it's just a hobby of mine. I like to, I like to kind of keep my eye open for interesting things. And
you scored on that one.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, I look at that picture, and I'm just like, honestly, that show was probably, apart from obviously me getting the guitar, I think between that one and the Scala, because it was intense. It played around the fur, and it was carnage, and it was wild. And it was so great and intimate. But the Royal Festival Hall, it was so close. The sound was so good. It was like, you could not believe it. And then I think, like, the next day I went to see Nine Inch Nails, and I was way back, and I was like, oh my God, if I was like where I was sat yesterday for Deftones. So it was that was an incredible show. So I think for Deftones to have a great show, obviously they need to have time to get their sound right, indoors, intimate. For me personally, you know, I'd love to see them, you know, play an amazing festival set, but I'm sure every band knows the odds are against them playing a killer one unless they're headlining, really. But sometimes it's that, you know, it's that kind of like rush and go that makes a great set, you know. Hey man, all this talk, it's making me miss gigs, you know. I can't wait to get back in a, you know, in a venue with loads of people. I'm just praying, come on, science, we need a vaccine. Come on, science.
Yeah, we need a lot more than science to get behind us, especially here in the States. A lot more help than just what science can provide. I think it's remarkable too how even with the shows that you mentioned, I mean, there was quite a bit of time between, you know, you think about the early shows being great, and then years later, I mean, a decade later, they're still commanding presence on stage, and I don't know, that strikes me about hearing you talk about them. It's like, yeah, wow, they really, I mean, I'm the same way. I'd been to terrific shows in the early 2000s, and then on the Gore tour, maybe one of my favorite shows that I've ever seen them, and it's a special experience thinking about that time.
I think that's just where, like, being a professional comes into it. You know, these guys, this is what they do, this is their profession. And you know, and when you're on the road, that's you know, you get in the zone, and they've been doing it for so long now that I guess the bands that are around, like, you know, that are touring kind of on a circuit year after year, of course they're going to be good. And actually, like, the best shows I've seen from, I wouldn't be surprised if the best Deftones show I've ever seen is to come, because some of the best shows I've ever seen are, you know, the bands that come to mind are Nine Inch Nails and Tool. Those shows I saw that were the best ever, the band members were in their 50s. And I don't think Deftones are in their 50s yet. I know that they got that to look forward to, but whoa, I mean, that's incredible. You wouldn't think that guys in their 50s would be able to bring it. Like, and I've seen it. Like, I've been blown away. Like, you know, the best show I've ever seen was Tool at Download, like, I think a year ago. I could not believe it. And then again, I saw, you know, Nine Inch Nails at the Royal Festival Hall, Royal Albert Hall, I think a year or two ago. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how good they were. I couldn't believe how well. And yeah, talking about voice, you know, the frontmen, you know, Trent Reznor, for example. Hey, like, whoa, how can you sing like that? You know, just deliver it at your age, just getting better and better. So why? Hey, there's no reason why Deftones can't. You know, they can't get better. There's no reason why they can't get better and better.
It's pretty cool to think about too. The in those early years, the type of show that they would do was totally different. I mean, it was, you know, bouncing off of the walls, bouncing off of, you know, amps and screaming their hearts out, and whether that was, you know, Nine Inch Nails or Tool or Deftones, but now, you know, they're a little more stationary. But
hey, that's fine. That's fine with me. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's fine with me for, you know, if you need to stay still, but what comes out of the speakers is incredible. And, you know, between musicians, you will lock in, then, hey, you can stay still. And in a way, you know, you don't really want to see, do I want to see someone that's getting on, trying to rock out? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not everyone can be Iggy Pop.
Maybe when you're 15, it's cool to do that, or to see that in your early 20s. But then when you're when you're upwards of 50, although when Chino hits a scream, that's like, you know, only he can do. It's
yeah. Hey man, his voice is just like a pleasure to listen to. But it's going to be interesting to see, as you know, over the next 15 years, let's say, where the Deftones sound is going to mature. It's going to evolve. And that's going to be interesting. So yeah, I don't know. Like, we'll see. I mean, you know, Marilyn Manson, he's getting on as well, but he's just released a really solid album. I've been listening to it, and so that's an interesting. I think that's an interesting, probably time for musicians who, especially in heavy music, who are used to like jumping up and down and creating mosh pits when they're like approaching 50s or they're in their 50s. That's an interesting time, because it's like, okay, you know, we're not in our 20s anymore. Where do we go? Next? Yeah.
How do we do this?
It's going to be interesting. I think personally, I'd really like to hear, what I would like to hear from Deftones is, you know, it's almost on the flip of what I was saying about Steph bringing really heavy riffs. I'd kind of like to hear them go into something really down the rabbit hole, electronic, and you know, influenced by like Massive Attack and stuff like that. You know, they could really take us down the rabbit hole, I think. So yeah, who knows?
That's really cool. That's a cool idea. I haven't done a whole lot of thinking about what lies ahead, only what we've seen so far. You know what I mean? We get very reflective, I think, when we think about Deftones. We think about their influences. We think about, you know, White Pony, this album or that album. But to sort of project them into the future is not something that I think I've done. That's cool that you bring that up.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. But I mean, hey, before I get ahead of myself, I got Ohms to look forward to tomorrow. I'm so excited.
What do you think about Ohms? Let's talk about Ohms for a second, on the strength of the two songs that we've heard.
The first, the title single, Ohms, I was disappointed. But it did grow on me, and I thought Chino's voice sounded great initially. I think I just wanted something heavier. I think I really wanted them to come back with just like, you know, just to get smacked in the face.
Yeah, you're a Deftones fan.
But, you know, I did find myself, I think maybe a couple of days after, I was singing to myself. I was singing the verse or the chorus. So, you know, obviously it did grow on me a bit. Initially, I wasn't sure. With Genesis, I was like, okay, yeah. You know, I'm into this. And I really like the middle section of Genesis where it breaks down and then builds back up.
Truly.
I'm really into that. And that's kind of giving me faith. Yeah. And, you know, Chino's voice. And in a way, it kind of had that, kind of created that feeling I was talking about when I listened to Korea. You know, that feeling of like it's quite emotional, cinematic, ethereal. I like the guitar at the start. It's like that kind of like, you know, over the past 10 years or so, that classic kind of clean tone that you've heard from them. And yeah, so off hearing Genesis, I have faith that I'm pretty sure I'm going to be into this. I mean, I can't wait to get stuck into it. I really like the artwork as well. I think the artwork's interesting. And yeah, man, I'm just can't wait to see them. It's, you know, it's hard for everyone at the moment. It's hard for a band putting out an album and not being able to play it, or if they are playing it, they're doing streams, which must feel very strange. And yeah, so who knows? I mean, hope maybe, you know, when we next get to see them, they'll have even more material under their belt. But yeah, I mean, it's can't wait to see them live. I mean, it's when gigs come back, everyone's just no one's gonna know what to do with themselves. Like,
I know. I've said to folks before, like when live music does finally return, it is going to be the most. It's going to be like a baptism. Every song is going to be just an out of body experience. Maybe nothing that I can wait for like more. I'm anticipating live music.
Oh, I mean, who would have thought we would have taken that for granted?
Right.
You know, none of us knew, and we were just. It's crazy, yeah. None of us thought we would take live music for granted. Being in a room with people, having that experience, like jumping up and down, or singing together, or you know, just leaving like covered in beer or sweat, like.
Or catching a guitar, or catching a guitar.
Wow. Well, you know, I definitely don't take that for granted. Absolutely not. Yeah. So yeah, man, I'm just like, I was very pleasantly surprised that you reached out, and you know, it's always nice to speak to fellow Deftones fans, because I know that, you know, there's a if someone's a Deftones fan, then you got a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Right. Well, and we could probably go on for quite a bit longer, but I do want to ask you one more question about. Well, I'll set it up this way. Chino had said recently that he only tweets out YouTube links.
Yeah, he does, right?
To songs. Yeah, he doesn't engage with anybody or anything else. He just his feeling is that the best thing that somebody who follows him could get from him is a music recommendation.
Great, yeah.
So in that spirit, I'm wondering if you could give me 3 recommendations, and it doesn't have to be limited to music. It could be anything at all, anything from an artist to a film or an alcohol, if whatever you're into. 3 recommend, old or new. The field is wide open. Just 3 recommendations.
Okay, well, I'm going to start with a band, not my band. I'm going to start with a band which you might have heard. I mean, I think, but okay, basically there's a band from London. I don't know if they're from London. They're from the UK. They're called Loathe. And if you're a Deftones fan, I think you will either love this band or you might really not like them, because the influence of Deftones is very, very clear, you know, maybe to the extent that they're yet to kind of really discover their own sound. But hey, there's no doubt that these guys are killer. They're called Loathe. So I would recommend Deftones fans to check them out. What else? There's a guy called Jamie Lenman, who's an artist from the UK, and I think if you're into Deftones, I think if you're into Nine Inch Nails, he's like a great kind of like an underground, almost like a bit of an underground icon here. So I'd recommend checking him out. And then my favorite out of my last recommendation, and my favorite, is this artist called Martin Grech, Grech. He's just released an album. Well, he released an album this year called Hush Mortal Core, and it is incredible. If you like Deftones, I'm sure you're going to like this album. It's a masterpiece. I'd actually go as far to say it's a masterpiece. It's
Wow.
like an hour long. Um, I'm it's definitely up there in like my top 5 albums of the year. You know, this guy, he's not very, you know, he's not like big online, and I think he released his last album maybe something like, you know, 10 or 15 years ago, but it's incredible. I highly recommend it. Martin Grech. Yeah, so those are my 3.
And you should definitely check out his band, This Be the Verse. Cyrus King, what a cool dude, man. Let me tell you, I was shocked when he asked if I wanted to see the guitar. I was sure he sold it. I was stunned. I didn't know what to say. So I didn't say anything. I just watched him walk over to his bed, lift it up, and pull out the guitar case. And he quickly blew my mind. If you haven't already looked up the listing on Reverb, I've shared some photos of the guitar on my Twitter and Instagram at Woodbruh. It's WOODBRUH. Super cool guitar. And at least a couple of the shows we talked about on this episode are on YouTube, courtesy of Vezanique and the awesome team at Deftones Live. You can watch both the Meltdown Festival performance from 2018 and the show at Wembley in 2003, of course. I looked for the show in 2009 where they play Around the Fur in its entirety, but I couldn't find it. If you do, send me the link. I'm going to watch it. Now, before we wrapped up entirely, Cyrus and I did talk for a couple more minutes about Eros and how we want to hear it, and that led to a few remarks about Sergio and the album since he joined the band.
All I can say is that before he joined, the last album I heard was Saturday Night Wrist. And after he joined, the next 2 albums I heard were pretty mind-blowing. And I saw him, you know, live, and he was killing the harmonies, you know, like the backing vocals. There's no doubt the guy's crazy talented. So yeah, I mean, I'm just really happy for the band that they managed to find someone like that. It seems to have like really worked and fitted in, and like, just really grateful that we still got that band going and they managed to make it through that terrible event. And yeah,
And like you said, produced 2 of their best works.
Whoa, right?
I mean, Diamond Eyes is
incredible. They're both ridiculous. It's just so good. You listen to them, and yeah,
I've heard Chino talk about how those 2 albums, Koi is sort of an extension of Diamond Eyes. He said,
"Oh yeah,
he feels like it." But I always thought that Gore sort of felt like the third in a trilogy. I felt like Gore was. I'll put it this way. Actually, I sort of felt like Diamond Eyes. You could remove Diamond Eyes and then say Saturday Night Wrist, Koi, and Gore have this, I think, this thread through them. Diamond Eyes sort of stands out on its own. To me, it's singular. But there's something about Koi and Gore, especially to me, that are like they're bodies of work. They're collections of songs. There's no like this is the single. It's these are complete. These are albums. Here's a work of art. Like this entire body of songs.
You're inspiring me to listen to Gore again now. I'm gonna have to.
I love it. I think it's really cool. I thought the Jerry Cantrell feature was.
Oh yeah.
It was. I thought it meshed so well. I think Doomed User is an unequivocal banger.
That tune that Jerry Cantrell is on. I do like that. That is a good song. I just think it's not what I want Deftones to be.
Sure.
But you know, that's my opinion. But I do like that. Is a great song, and I do like it. I'm hearing it now in my head, and I'll probably pop it on after this. After this chat's done.
And Steph wrote it. Interestingly enough.
Oh right, yeah, okay.
Like all of this, they do a lot of. I feel like trying to appease, the fans who are like, "Where's Steph? And why isn't he giving us the heavy shit?" Which is cool, and it's founded, like it makes sense. But I also heard Chino say recently, like Steph wrote that song. Like he wrote a couple of songs on Gore. It might have been mostly Sergio and Chino doing it, but it was, Steph's there. I don't know. I do think Gore is underrated a little bit.
Cool. Well, I'll definitely listen to it. I mean, it must be hard, like when you got that, you got the pressure from fans, but the good thing is that like they set these bars themselves, so it's like at least the bars have been set by them and not another band.
My thanks again to Cyrus King. This Be the Verse is his band. Their album, Deny All, is out November 6th. They are at TBTV Band on Twitter and Instagram. Now, my guest next week is Chris Enriquez, the drummer for Spotlights. It's kind of funny. Cyrus, his dream is to open for Deftones one day. Well, Chris actually got to do that. He joined Spotlights while they were on tour opening for Deftones and refused. So you'll hear about that and a lot more cool stuff with Chris. Super talented, incredibly knowledgeable, and extremely generous with his time, Chris Enriquez. So make sure you listen next week. My name is Woody. Thank you for listening to Change in the House of Pods. Now go listen to some Deftones.